I won't talk for too long because it's really about this wonderful group of students here that have taken opportunities, and what we want to hear from them is what those opportunities are. They're from a range of different providers across Christchurch, and so they're going to share their journeys from school into training and what is next. So we're just going to start off a little bit by going down the panel, and each of those people is going to tell you who they are. They're going to share where they study and their path to get to that, how they got to that course of study. And we'll start here with Delaney.
Hi there, I'm Delaney. I am a Vision College student. I've just completed my Level 5 diploma in early childhood education. To get to there, I done a 10-week course at Vision for an ECE, and then I done my certificate in early childhood education, and now I've just completed my diploma.
Yeah.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Brandy. I'm the only one probably didn't go to high school in New Zealand. I am at the University of Canterbury doing my PhD in disaster risk resilience, but for the last 7 years I've worked with science and engineering students coming into Canterbury, so I've got a lot of experience with incoming students and their experiences and successes and failures. So that's me.
Hi, I'm Emily. I am studying at the New Zealand Broadcasting School at Ara. I studied cultural anthropology at Victoria University straight out of high school, got a degree in that, worked, and then decided to start pursuing this part of my vocational education. So, yeah.
Tēnā rā tātou, ako Harris Moana tōku ingoa, a hiri tēnei no Ngāti Manipoto o me Waikato hoki. My name's Harris Moana. I'm a third year BA Exercise student at Lincoln University, but originally I'm from the Waikato. I came from the Waikato. I was at St Paul's Collegiate, and then I've moved down here. At Lincoln, I'm also the Māori student president. And at Lincoln, there's about 200 Māori students, so it's been a big role, working throughout the country and doing all sorts of stuff, representing. But it's been really beneficial for our students. Thank you.
Kia ora everyone, my name is Raggy Boy Baxter. Thank you, James, it's a pleasure to be here. I study at UB, the College of Creative Innovation, and my pathway to get there, I took a few gap years, had some fun, and then decided to study a diploma in design and web design and graphic design, and then, started my bachelor's in software engineering.
Kia ora. Hey, thank you for sharing those. What we're going to do next is we'll start with Ruggie this time and we'll go back along, and we're just interested to find out what was it that drew you to that course of study? Why did you take that up?
Well, I never thought that I could develop apps. You know, it was this distant goal and a sort of dream. And after studying graphic design and web design, I just really loved code. And the bachelor's came to Christchurch, which I had my eye on, and it was up in Auckland. I had my eye on it, and I didn't want to move to Auckland. And then when it came to Christchurch, I got really excited and decided to enroll. And it's just been fantastic from that point on.
So for me, it all began when I was a little kid. When I was younger, my grandparents live out in Kāwhiri, and they've got a small block out there where they have some animals and stuff. And when I was younger, me and all my cousins went out there on the holidays. And I thought being on the farm was fun. We could do whatever we want, play around outside, be on the motorbikes, on the tractors, or whatever it was. And so from there, that's where my love of agriculture began. When I was at school, I enjoyed doing science, especially chemistry, and that's where the agriculture science came together. So I was lucky enough to come down to Lincoln, where they offered this degree. And so far it's been pretty good. Coming to the third year into my degree, I've got one more year left trying to do my honours. But being here, being in the roles that I've been doing in some workshop opportunities I've had, I found that there's not really much Māori scientists out there. So that's been a big drive for me to continue on forward to show other younger Māori students coming through that we can be in these kind of spaces, because there's heaps of opportunities out there, and so I'm just trying to take them.
So I decided to move to Christchurch to study journalism at the broadcasting school because my anthropology degree I loved. Turns out anthropology is just academic journalism, but I wanted to study something more practical. I wanted to try a polytech to be able to get out there and use the equipment and actually work while being a student. And so the broadcasting school's been amazing for that. I also just love news and current affairs, always wanted to work in media, always wanted to work in news, and sort of, decided to just take the opportunity and give it a go, and it's really paid off. So yeah, it's been good.
Even though I went to school in the States, I feel like my story is quite universal. I was the only person in my family who was thinking about university. I went to a lower decile school with low resources. I was very gifted in math and science, and the careers counselor said I would be good in engineering, so that's what I did. I did an undergraduate and a master's degree in electrical engineering, and I loved studying, but I loved people more. So I switched from engineering to more working with schools to get more minorities and females into engineering and help pastoral care through them. And then I came to New Zealand and I worked in earthquake resilience and trying to get more minorities and females into science and technology and engineering. And my love of people pushed me into my PhD in social science and geography, which is a very different field than engineering, but the University of Canterbury has been really gracious on that shift, and it's very transdisciplinary, so I now feel like I finally fit where I belong. Even though I loved engineering and I love the idea and the concept of it, I now have the ability to be transdisciplinary and work with people.
Same again, being a child, it came from, as a child I enjoyed spending time helping with younger children. That's where I became, where the want to become a teacher came from. Babysitting then led me to wanting to plan more activities and work with children. So going through Gateway in school helped to get to Vision College, where I then have done a few ECE courses.
Great, thank you. What we're hoping to hear next is, what is it in your study that you found most enjoyable, and perhaps something that you've found challenging as well? And if we start with you again, Delaney.
Sorry.
Thank you.
What was that, sorry?
So we're looking for something that you've found most enjoyable and something that you've found challenging.
Well, starting with my studies in ECE, I've really found it enjoyable learning about children's development, learning more about Te Whāriki. Working in ECE has, just developing a further understanding and working with the children and families has been most enjoyable. Challenging can be balancing the ratios and, seeing some of the experiences children go through, having to work with them through that.
I'm going to answer twice, one for when I started engineering straight out of high school and then also now. In engineering, the biggest amazing thing was the ability to have science and maths and be practical. The biggest challenge was being the only female in my class of 60, which is pretty universal as well. And then now working at the University of Canterbury, my PhD, UC is very transdisciplinary, and I love the fact that you can learn social science and then also work in geography and chemistry all in together. And the biggest challenge with that is, bringing more perspectives into that. Working in the PhD, I think we have one Māori student in our entire research group. So bringing in more diversity and different points of view into that, into the university setting.
So for my anthropology degree, the biggest challenge for me was the fact that it was, whilst I enjoyed university, it wasn't practical enough, and it was solo work. I function a lot better and enjoy working in a team, and so the polytech option has been really, really good for me on that front. The other thing I've enjoyed about the broadcasting school is the people and the fact that you're encouraged to go out and you're encouraged to experiment and you're encouraged to try everything and make mistakes because they've got your back. And for something that can be quite, you're exposed because you're putting your work out there and you're talking to strangers a lot. That's been really reassuring and has made it a really, really enjoyable experience. It could be quite challenging for some people, but for those in my cohort, we've loved it. The most challenging part of this qualification probably is the workload. They condense the program down to 2.5 years. The last 6 months is an internship, and we've just finished what would be the equivalent of the beginning of our 3rd year. And that can be quite strenuous for a lot of people and quite challenging, but the course is good because it's got a huge variety of part-time external tutors who have either been in industry, currently in industry, or are industry veterans. And so those different teaching styles and different experiences have kind of helped everyone work through the workload in the best way that they can. So yeah.
I guess the challenge for me is probably time management. 3 years out of school, when you're at university, it's all on your own, you're doing your own stuff. So it's getting those assignments in on time, it's easy, just basic things like that, but time management is really important at university. Something I've enjoyed, especially being at Lincoln, is we're surrounded by a lot of industry professionals, well-known names, so picking their brains and learning off them has been really massive for my development. Also, Lincoln's really small, so it's easy to get along with most people on campus. Everyone pretty much knows everyone in your year level, so mixing and mingling is good. And yeah, that's about it.
So, a show of hands, who here codes? Nice. There's like a handful of us. Well, code is a double-edged sword, and it's what I love about my study, and it's also the biggest challenge of my study. It's really the entire degree. But yeah, I love going into a wormhole and developing something that I don't really know, what is going to come out of it at the end. And at the same time, that can be really taxing. It's a very cerebral degree. And part of that is, as Harris said, the time management that goes into that as well is insane. I mean, I've just finished my final project. I'm on holiday now, thank goodness. But, last week was my final week, and by Thursday, my teammate and I had already put in 85 hours each. And that was Thursday morning. We're calculating the hours, getting ready for the presentation, going, do you think saying we've done 400 hours is too much? Maybe we should just say it's 200 hours so it's a bit more believable, But I guess if you want to get the results that you're after, and if you want to push yourself as a student, you are, dedicating yourself to that. So, yeah, I love code, and sometimes I hate it.
Thank you, Raggy. All of you in the audience here spend a lot of time working with school leavers, and we all know our school leavers, their expectations on leaving school into further training are not always the same as the reality. So my question to you all here is, how is the reality of leaving school for you different to the expectations you may have had when you were a student? And if we start with you again, Delaney.
So the reality of leaving school for me, I actually kind of had some expectation of what to expect, as when in high school I'd done the Gateway program at Vision College. So once I'd done my 10 weeks at Vision College, that's what led me to do my certificate with Vision College. So I had expectations of the learning, I knew the campus, I knew the teachers. So I guess the expectations for me, it was as expected. I had an idea of what to expect when going into it.
I probably had the opposite experience of that, being the only person in my entire family to go to university. I thought it was like when you go from intermediate to high school, I didn't know you had to apply. So I applied to one school and I got in because I was last minute. I also didn't know about scholarships. I didn't know about registration. It was a complete new world for me. So it was really stressful. And the counselors who encouraged me to do engineering, I had massive imposter syndrome, and it was throughout the whole process because I was just in over my head. But luckily, I did have counselors that did believe in me and pushed me to think that I can be an engineer, and I did do engineering, but it was a process.
I found my expectations were sort of already there. I think I had quite good expectations of what it was when I first went from school to university. I moved city, so I went into a hall, and that was super helpful because you're surrounded by people in the same boat and you're supported mostly. I would say probably the biggest thing that I didn't expect, and myself and my friends also didn't expect, was that period after study once you finish, which I wish I had more preparation for that in high school actually, or even in university, because a lot of us trying to find a job, trying to plan your next step in your career, if you've studied something, especially a Bachelor of Arts, something quite broad, there actually isn't anything there. And a lot of my friends really, really struggled. Our mental health took a toll, that kind of thing. So I would love for future career advisors to pass on to students that actually be prepared for that lull, be prepared to perhaps look into scholarships more thoroughly, look into programs that have internships, hence why I've done this one, because those are my friends who had that pathway, definitely had an advantage. Yeah.
For me, my expectations of coming to university was I didn't really want to go to university just because I didn't want to do more years of school. I thought university would be exactly like school, so I was like, oh, no, probably not for me. But by the time I got there, I learned that a lot of university, or the whole of university, is all self-driven. Everything you do is you've got to do it yourself. At school, you might get help from teachers here and there, but when you get to university, it's all on you. So it's making sure you know where to go, what to do, who the people are to see, and just staying on top of things, because it's easy for things to catch up, and then by the time that happens, you all fall behind. So yeah, my advice would be to the career advisors, would just be to get them ready that a lot of it's all self-driven, because yeah, it sucks when you get to university and you're way behind everyone else because everyone else is way ahead.
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, I had a different experience and I took some time away from education before going to study, and that's because I needed to find myself. I am part of the LGBTQ community. I'm ADHD as well. I fall into quite a few different minorities, born in South Africa. And I wanted to explore. I wanted to travel. I wanted to, experience life. So in all honesty, I think in school, learning about finances, as in your bank account, would be very helpful. But, that's just my 2 cents there. In terms of the career advisors, my advice would also be that, some students need that. Maybe they don't want to go study straight away. Maybe a gap year is for them, and helping them out with that path, if that is for them, giving them the guidance of how they can come back to that. Because it's been incredible taking that time away. If I did not take that time away, I probably would have gone and studied something like marketing or just a BA where I, was kind of trying to keep it broad. But now I know exactly what I want to do, and I've been blessed enough to get a full scholarship with the degree because of that, because I took the time to explore my own mind and discover myself first.
Hey, thank you for sharing those great insights. I'm sure we can all take something from that. What I'd like to hear next is, perhaps if you pick 1 or 2 attributes or qualities that you think you needed to succeed most once you've left school and gone into further training. We'll start with you, Raghi.
Soft skills, definitely communication. In software, it's a very, very team-based environment. If you know the word agile, you'll know what I'm talking about. Communication and team bonding is, it's huge. So I definitely think soft skills translate in work, they translate in play, and there's something that, as humans we benefit from no matter what we're doing at the time. We're social creatures, and so playing on those skills I definitely think is a great benefit.
I'd probably have to say the same thing. Communication is massive. I've learned that a lot this year. Being the Māori student president, you have a lot of time away from your studies. So you might be, who knows, we're doing whatever. So it's making sure you're communicating with the lecturers that, sorry, I'm away for a week because I'm up in Auckland at a conference doing this kind of stuff. yeah, for me that's really helped because I have fallen behind a bit on studies at certain times of the year. So just letting the lecturers know, and also our support staff at Lincoln, that I'm doing this, can I get extensions? So that when I get back I'll have time to get things done, just so I don't fall behind, because yeah, communication is massive.
The ones I wrote down were also soft skills, social ones. I think what I realised and what I was really lucky to have, especially in my first ever year of study, was having a really strong community and a really just a great group of friends. Because if you are struggling financially, if you are struggling academically, if you're surrounded by people who can relate to you, people from different walks of life, then you're basically going to be able to get through. And that applies to family as well. And if family aren't there, then yeah, learning the skills to make those friends and passing that on, yeah, to your students, just to say that put yourself out there and get to know people, because they will be your lifeline if you are struggling. So those skills I was grateful to develop and to have. In terms of this particular course, passion for your subject, I think that's really important. You would not be able to get through the workload that they have at the broadcasting school if you aren't passionate about it. Other things like basic writing skills, adaptability, like Raggy was saying, has been so important. And then life experience, and I would advise like passing on to your students any kind of life experience, any way that your life sets you apart from other people. Perhaps they might consider it a hindrance, but it's actually 100% an advantage, especially in broadcasting and media, because that diversity is really important.
I have to apologize. And when I say counselor, I meant career advisor. My experience is universal, but my vernacular is American sometimes. I have to agree. Adaptability is very important. Working with students, especially for the last 7 years in my own experience, independence and learning to do things on your own and being held accountable for that is a really big thing. Accountability and then adaptability and realizing, okay, I thought I wanted to do this, but actually I'm going to change my mind and study this, and being able to move around that, because it's not linear like it used to be. You don't have to study geography and then you're a geographer as a career. You can start with geography, then go to biology, then go to software engineering until you figure out where you want to be. And I think the other thing also is, if you're working in the STEM space, the science, technology, engineering, maths, and you're not of the majority population, having a degree of confidence in what you're doing, because there will be a lot of people that will put you down. I've been told many times that I only got an A in the course because I was a female, the only female. It's pretty common within minorities in these fields. So having a degree of confidence to know that you do exist and you do belong there, it goes pretty far.
I could agree with everyone else, but I also believe that being organised and self-motivated is something really important for me. When leaving school, it was to have a plan lined up. For me, that's what worked best, have something organised so I know what to expect and what's coming next for myself.
Thank you. We are very close to the end of time, so I'm going to put a little challenge to you just to the end. In a sentence or two, can you give one piece of advice that you could give to these people out here that are working with young people transitioning from school? Let's start with you, Delaney.
I would say to support the children to have, students have a positive mindset. Prepare them as well for change, because even if they have a plan for when leaving, it may not happen, it may change.
I think mine, working with a lot of schools in the last couple of years in New Zealand, is to keep your mind open about different career options. A lot of females haven't heard of engineering because their career counselors or advisors don't tell them about it.
Planning post-study and financial walkthroughs, the financial support you can get through WINS in the institution, and also mental health support walkthroughs for the institution or organisations they may be going to.
Help them as much as you can, but don't help them too much. So what I mean by that,
Nice.
what I mean by that is help them, but they've got to start doing stuff themselves, because it's about the transition period. You can't do everything for them. They've got to start helping themselves.
That was definitely well said. I'd probably say active listening. I think so often we're trying to communicate and maybe we don't quite have the language or, you know, to explain what we're thinking because it's a creative idea. And I think that just takes active listening, you know, instead of the idea you have for this person and the box that you think they might fit in, just listening to the box they want to create.
Hey, well done, everyone. The words coming from all of you today were bang on. You all came across as intelligent, professional. You could have been on the stage like this speaking many times, and I thought the message that you were giving us was the things that we could take home and really use for our students' benefit. So thank you very much.